What my concern is that the issue of problem solving. You alluded to the issue of slavery, and I'm hearing, even including Mr. James, say that to just cooperate, and I think that all that is typical to the color of our skin. And so my concern is, what are we going to do? Because the foundation of all of this, as you began with, is the fact of this is a violent country. Black people did not come here, through Ellis Island. So what is it that we're going to do? The Million Man March just happened. No coverage for that. Now we've got Black Lives Matter, and there's the concern about the FBI trying to shut that organization down. What is your positions in referencing to how do you feel about Black Lives Matter? Because we have to do something. Things can't just be as they are, and we have discussions about it. What are some specific things that we need to be able to do as community, as a people,
we got
from
it.
a legislative standpoint?
We got it. And not to cut you off, but I really want to be able to try to get as much done. You want to?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Well, there are a host of things that we can do. One of the things that we have to do is and I love the activism, by the way. I think the activism through Black Lives Matter and a lot of other groups is forcing a conversation that, quite frankly, we should have been having for the last 30 or 40 years, maybe even longer than that. But I think that there are some things that we can focus our energies toward that will bring about maximum change. One of them is mass incarceration, and it's something that we don't really talk about enough, and we don't question enough. Why do we lock up the people that we lock up, and why do we lock them up for the length of time that we lock them up? We need to re-examine the concept and the idea of mandatory minimums. We need to look at inequities in terms of granting of bonds for low-level nonviolent offenses, and why is it that a person that is that lives in Buckhead, if their son commits a burglary, he's bonded out in 2 days. But if it's Bankhead and you're and you're poor, then that bond's not going to be, that bond may be granted, but if he or she can't make a $2,500 bond, they may sit there for 3 months, or even 2 weeks longer, and that causes all types of problems. And so there are a lot of conversations to be had, but I think the conversations need to be around solutions. I think people are angry in the country right now, and they have every right to be angry, but I think that there are some constructive solutions and some constructive things that can be put on an agenda that can be asked for, that I think will really change things. And earlier when I said cast your buckets down where you are, that's what I was alluding to. Nobody is, there's no fence up around the hood that keeps us from going down there creating mentoring programs and literacy programs. I did just that when I was a law student, and these two folks know it right here because Mr. Dollar was mentoring me, and I was working for Judge Scott, who was the defense lawyer at the time. I was spending my summers, in the Mechanicsville, Pittsburgh area, creating summer camps and after-school programs and mentoring, and I was doing it for free. And there were two other grad students from Clark, Atlanta, that were doing it, and nobody kept me from doing that. So a lot of things can be solved just by us getting involved. And so a lot of this the energy that you see in the country is great, but I'd like to see the energy focus back towards the hood, and some seeding. So yeah.
Judge Moore wants to weigh in on this, and then we're going to get you. I know you have been waiting patiently.
Okay. Black Lives Matter, and we have to continue that despite all kinds of attacks by other people that is generating violence against police officers. That's not what's doing it. But the thing we have to look at is the importance of the people who are making the decisions on us. We have to vote.
Oh, say it, Judge, say it.
We must vote.
Say it, Judge.
We must
say it.
register other people to vote. And we don't just have to vote at the top of the ballot. We have to go all the way down the ballot. The judges, the district attorneys, commissioners, anybody, if a dog catcher were on there, you need to go down that ballot, and you need to vote intelligently.
Yes.
So you have to educate yourselves. The day before or the day of an election, I get calls from people, who should I vote for? You know, for judge, I don't know any of these people. Well, judges can't raise that much money for the election, so they're not on TV. But go to your community meetings and find out who these people are and who's going to act in our best interest. When I was on the bench, I tried to get alternative sentencing, particularly based upon what the DA here has said. Our sentences are too long and so forth. But they didn't do anything about it. Now Governor Deal is trying to do something about it, not to save our young black men, but because it's costing too much. But however they get there, I'm glad they're there. But the reason is not a humanitarian one. The reason is it costs too much to feed them and give them medical care.
Attorney Mathis?
Judge Moore, you said earlier that we got to be concerned about the policy. You do know that racial profiling is not illegal in Georgia. You do know that there's a bill every year at the legislature where some Tyrone Brooks or somebody like that tries to introduce legislation to outlaw racial profiling. It never makes it out of committee. If this many people were to show up at the committee meeting in judiciary to say we want racial profiling to become illegal in Georgia, it would at least get out of committee. So that's something very concrete, and there are lots of things like that.
They've told me 10 minutes, and so quick questions, please. And Judge, I'll get you in this.
Very quickly, thank you so much. DA Robert James, I just have a question about the economic piece that you were speaking of earlier. You say that to seek legal counsel, good legal counsel. Okay, what does that mean for our young black people, our families that those young black people are a part of? And what alternative do you suggest if they can't get that legal counsel, that quality legal counsel, from an economic standpoint? Because as we know, most young black men are a part of low-income families, okay? And also, if IA is a suggestion, okay, what do you do as an alternative to that as well? Because some IA cases are ignored.
Okay. Well, you said good legal counsel, and I think the suggestion is that somehow, the public defender's office is bad and poor legal counsel. The only county I have experience with in DeKalb, and I don't know what the judges would tell you, but I think our public defender's office is probably one of the best in the state. And I've practiced law against lawyers that make $250 an hour, and I've practiced law against the ones that are paid a salary by the county. And I'll tell you, a lot of the ones that are paid by a salary by the county, they don't market, but they're a hell of a lot better than the ones that are charging you $250 an hour. So I think we have good legal counsel, at least in DeKalb County. I can't speak about Fulton, I can't speak about Clayton, because I don't practice there, but I think we have good legal counsel in our county. At the end of the day, it's a safety issue, and it's a proof issue. If you're on the side of the road and it's your word against an officer's word, it's not very smart to engage in any type of confrontation, verbal or otherwise, with that individual. When it comes into court, it's going to be your word against that person's word. And also, if that confrontation escalates into a physical confrontation, you have put your life in jeopardy at that point, because there is no police officer in America that is going to allow you to win a fight because he or she is armed, and their concern is that you will take their weapon. And so the best thing that any person, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, or otherwise, can do if there is a confrontation with a police officer is to comply. And if they disagree with the way that they're treated, you exercise your God-given constitutional rights, hire a lawyer, and make a complaint to Internal Affairs.
May I just say that Fulton County has one of the best public defender's office. I serve on the supervisory panel for that. They are trained. They undergo just amazing kinds of training and are very well prepared.
I am so sorry. We've got 5 minutes. We need obviously a longer session. We need to drill down further. This is just skimming the surface. I did the best I could to manage time. Judge, I'll recognize you. All right. And I know that we've got 4 or 5 people here. We got somebody in the back. I'm doing the best I can, guys.
Okay. You're doing great.
I'm a product of the projects, if you will. I came from East Lake Meadows, the old East Lake, Little Vietnam, all of those things, and I am proof that you can get out and be a productive citizen. But what I think is it was a village for sure back then that raised us, and then we had teachers that really cared about education and really wanted to educate us versus some of the teachers nowadays. My question is, a lot of grandparents are raising these children nowadays. You have your mothers and fathers on drugs or drug dealers or what have you. What can we do to go back into the community to help the elderly that's raising these children and just don't have the strength to rear him up the way she reared her children?
If I could, I believe in divine order. Kim Anderson was in my office yesterday. Kim, for those of you who don't know her, is the CEO of Families First. And the thing that we were talking about yesterday is building villages, communities, where you have senior citizens there, and you have parents who've adopted children and parents who are foster care children, as a way of the seniors giving back and the kids benefiting, because we've got to recreate villages, because it was, Miss Jones down the street and Mr. Willie round the corner, and we did everything we could for them because that's how we were raised.